Hello and welcome back to this course of videos on Node.js and Express. Now in the previous video we used the sendFile method on the response object in Express to serve a very basic index.html file to our browser, and we also used the same Express method to serve the accompanying CSS file and JavaScript file. Now in between videos we have amended the index.html slightly. Now it looks like this. We're going to use this website and we're going to build it out over the next course of videos, upcoming videos, and we're just going to build a simple chat application. But apart from the index.html file, the rest of the files are exactly the same. So we still have our server.js, which we were just looking at. That is exactly the same. And we have in our public file, we still have our index.html, our single JavaScript file and single CSS file. We have our package.json, which only has Express as a dependency. And we have our node modules file, which contains all the modules required to support the Express module. So what we're going to look at now is serving dynamic pages. Now you may have heard us mention the word static files before, and we said that static files go in the public folder. Public because static files can be viewed by the public. Now static files, which are my index.html, my JavaScript file and my CSS file, now these are known as static because when they are actually served, when your application serves these to the browser, they are not modified in any way. My index.html file, what the user sees on their browser, if they actually go into DevTools and viewed the source, what they would see is exactly the same as what I have stored on my server in the public folder. Nothing is being changed between the time that this file is read from the server, the read stream, and then when it's written to the browser on the write stream. It's totally unadulterated, exactly as it sits there in the public folder. Now, many times this is not what we want. Many times we would, rather than static, we would like to serve something dynamically. Perhaps we would want to modify this index.html file based on, I don't know, the weather or the time of day or the day, or perhaps the actual user that is requesting the index.html. So that's the example we're going to use here. What we want to do is we want to modify this index.html file based on the user. You can see up in the top right here I have a placeholder said your username here. So we want to dynamically serve this index.html file based on which user has actually requested this index.html. Now the way we do this, the way we can actually embed data into the files that we serve to the user, embed and make them dynamic, is through something called templating. Now templating there's many different applications available for templating, and the one that we're going to use is called EJS, which stands for Embedded JavaScript, and that is a module that we're going to need to download. Similar to the way we downloaded Express, we need to download EJS. So I'm just going to Control-C out of here, and as we did to install Express, I'm going to say npm install EJS and then -- save. So this is going to actually download EJS, and because I put the -- save, it's going to also update my package.json. So you can see now my package.json is added EJS to the dependencies here. And if we did drill into our node modules, we would see that a lot more modules had been added to cater for EJS. So now we have EJS installed, we first need to tell our Express app that we would like to use EJS as our templating engine or view engine. And the way we do this is by writing the code app.set view engine, which is another word for templating engine, and then the second argument I'm going to pass is EJS. Now this now tells my app that this is the view engine I would like to use. So let's now we're going to replace index.html with a dynamic EJS file. So the first thing I need to do is I need to create a views folder. Now, by default, when Express goes to look for my EJS views, it will want to look in by default it looks in a folder called views. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take from the public folder, I'm going to take my index.html, I'm going to copy it out of the public folder, and I'm going to put it into my views folder, paste that in there, and all I'm going to do is rename this as EJS. So yes, I'm going to change the extension, that's fine. So I've now basically just renamed my index.html as index.ejs and moved it into a file called views. As I said, views is a default place. We noted here in our Express app that our view engine was EJS. Now Express knows to look in the views folder, in this views folder, for any EJS files. So the one last thing I need to do is, so I'm not actually using res.sendFile anymore for my when the user requests the index.html. I'm not using my res.sendFile. I'm actually using an express function called render, res.render. And in here, I don't need to put the full path all the way to my index.ejs, because as we said, the application already knows to look in the views folder. So all I need to put is index.ejs. So if I run this now, I'm just going to start my node server and start this running. So I'm going to run this now. My entry point is my server.js. When I go to localhost, it's going to when I serve up my root URL, it should serve up this index.ejs file, which is exactly the same as my index.html. So I'll serve this up, and yes, it is. You can see it served what is now my index.ejs file. So that's great. But what we did want to do is I wanted to dynamically populate this. We're not doing anything dynamic yet. And the way we can add something dynamically is I'm going to go to my index.ejs file here. And what we actually want to replace is your username here. So I'm going to input what we would call a placeholder. You can think of it almost like a variable in here, but I'm actually going to write some EJS code and embed some EJS code into my EJS template here. And that will actually replace the text that you see here. Will be replaced by this embedded variable. Now, the syntax you use with EJS is as follows. So I do my opening tag, and then I do a percentage sign. And to close it off, I do percentage sign again. So it's kind of similar to if you're familiar with PHP and the way you embed dynamic data into HTML using the opening and closing PHP tags. This is similar. One difference is we have, when we're actually embedding data, as we are now, we have to put an equals there. So here's my opening and here's my closing. Now within here, I need to put in my placeholder variable, and my placeholder variable is going to be username. So now, when Express runs my server.js and it sees to render index.ejs, it's going to come to here and it's going to see, oh, there's a placeholder here for some data to be inserted. Now, so we need to tell our server.js file what exactly that data is. And the way we do that is by passing a second argument to the res.render method. The second argument is a JavaScript object. This JavaScript object that we're passing, we're going to pass, you could put multiple key value pairs in here. What we're going to put is just a single key value pair. Now the key is going to be username, because username is the name of my placeholder variable. That's our key, and our value is what we want embedded. So the username that I want to pass is James D. Murphy 51. That is the username. I mean, in reality, with res.render, we would probably be pulling this data from a database. In this case, I am just pretending as if a database has served us this JavaScript object with this key value pair. And so this is just for testing purposes. But again, so this, we're going to res.render index.ejs. We're passing this object, this JavaScript object here with a key value pair, username James D. Murphy 51 as a value. Now that is going to be substituted in here to this placeholder on my EJS view. So if we just test this now, I'm going to go to my server and I'm going to Control-C and refresh, restart it. Now, if we go back here and we refresh, we should see this now being updated with our dynamic EJS data. And we do, James D. Murphy 51. So now the user has their username up in the top corner, and we have dynamically served this index.ejs view. So I hope that gives you a good introduction to templating in Express, and in particular EJS, and serving dynamic pages. Now we will continue with EJS in the next video. I look forward to seeing you then.